All right, this is card 1 of training. Tricaster training with Mike Wallace.
All right. Basically, we're going to start. We will start with a fresh project. So I'm just going to go here, and we're going to go new. We're setting up 1080. Empty session. You can give it a session name. We'll just call this training. Training Day. Good film. And start session. Start live production. I need to get some ground isolators on that.
Oh,
maybe that's why.
Is that what that's? Okay.
Could be feedback, yeah. All right, so basically started with a clean slate. The first thing I'm going to do is set up my workspace here on the monitors. And I do that by going under Workspace, and you can choose your interface monitor and your multi-view monitor. This is the interface monitor. This is the multi-view monitor. Usually on my interface monitor, I'm going to want all, so I can see all 3 cameras plus my DDR1, DDR2, my 2 network inputs, my graphic bus. I can see all of that. If the icons are getting a little small, you can, change it to only, say, internal, and then you'll have just your DDRs and your network interfaces, and then you'll see 3 of your cameras over here. That's what I'm going to do for now, so that I can get more visible space on my interface. On my multi-view, which is this monitor here, I can choose, if I want just program, which I don't need because I've got a master program right above it. If I want just external sources, like my cameras, or if I want just internal sources, which there's nothing there right now, but that would be your DDR1, DDR2, FX graphics, frame buffer, all of those would be internal sources. Internal meaning internal to the Tricaster system. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to set it up so that I am, let's go back here. I am internally viewing all my sources on my interface monitor, and I'm viewing my, let's view my external. I want my clock to, there we go. And this way I get my production clock down here as well. Now you can adjust a lot of these windows, individually as well, just by, kind of clicking and dragging.
Would that be saved as a default? Would it?
No.
Oh, it wouldn't.
Nope,
Okay.
it doesn't save it. Every session, it'll save that session that way, but if you open a new session, all the windows are defaulted back to where they were initially.
Okay.
So, what I would want to do to get set up for a show, basically, I've got my 3 cameras, 1, 2, and 3 already set up. I don't have any network sources right now. The machine's not initialized onto the network, so I don't have any feeds coming in. But my DDR1 and DDR2, which are my playback, my internal playback buses, I can assign those and get that ready for my show. So basically looking at this window here, which is the internal interface monitor, down below you've got these tabs, DDR1, GFX, which is graphics, and PTZ, which is your camera positioning. It's kind of a virtual camera follow system. We won't get into that. That's a pretty advanced one. We'll just talk about basics today. And then on this side of the monitor, you've got another square, and that has DDR2, the tabs, DDR2, sound, so you can load individual sound clips, and then buffers. Buffers are basically, they can be a lot of things. They could be animations, they could be still graphics. It's basically just a buffer space for maybe a bug or a logo or something you want to throw up onto the screen. In the middle here, on the middle right-hand side, it's a duplicate of what you see down here in the controls. So you've got DSK2 and DSK1, and those two are both present here to the right side of your T-bar. If you look at these values underneath, they're both set at 1 second. That's the rate at which they transition from source A to source B. If you select DSK1, for instance, and you rotate the rate, you'll see it change up there. You can also change that value just by scrolling through it, clicking and scrolling right to left. But it's just a duplicate of what you have physically on your control board. DSK2 is the same way. Right below that, you can select your transition, standard fade. You've got quite a few different transitions you can select from, and that just obviously takes when you transition between two sources. Now DSK1 and DSK2 are really kind of assigned by different values. So DSK1 and 2 are mostly used for lower thirds or graphics that constantly change during a show. And you've got two separate DSKs, which is basically a disk, space or drive that you can assign. And the way you assign it is here in the utility bus. You've got FX, auxiliary out, DSK1, and DSK2. And then this row right here, 1 through 4, your cameras, and then you have network 1 and 2, DDR1 and 2, graphics and buffer. And actually, just as a note, just like an audio mixer where you've got a lot of buttons here, but each column is the same. 1, 2, 3, 4 input sources. You've got network 1 and 2, DDR1 and 2, graphics, buffer, FX. All of that is the same in every row because you're really just basically, these areas are designators, and then these buttons here are the assignment. So if I want DSK1 to be my graphics where I can bring up lower thirds, I can go DSK1 and it's already selected, but I would select graphics as my input to DSK1. So now if I go down to my graphics tab, because I have nothing loaded, I select a bin, which is now empty, hit the plus sign to add my lower graphics, and this can be from a network location. Your files could be saved onto a thumb drive or another portion of the Tricaster. You can load them from pretty much anywhere.
So your options will come up here if there's more options.
Yep, and you can also click Browse.
Okay.
And it'll take you to the actual Windows browser to find your graphics.
Okay.
For right now, I'm just going to select the electric blue set here. It's just a preloaded lower thirds from Tricaster, and you can see all the different ones here. Now when you click on a graphic, it'll instantly load it into the preview, as long as that channel isn't already on live. So back to DSK1, now that I have DSK1 assigned to my graphics bus, over here, or here physically on the switcher, when I click on that graphic during my live show, if I'm switching and all of a sudden I want that graphic up, I can hit that graphic bus and there it is, right over top of my video. And as soon as I take it, it's there, and as soon as it's gone, you can have it automatically jump to the next one and queue it up, basically. And the way that's done is that you've got... Wow.